Good morning, everyone, and welcome to NYU Abu Dhabi Slush 2025.
I had AI for breakfast today. AI. AI. It's everywhere. Everyone is talking about AI. Even my grandma. She loves it. But I think that's exactly why our next panel discussion is so important. We're cutting through the noise to talk about how startups can actually use generative AI to scale, build, and compete without getting lost in the AI buzz. And we couldn't have two better guides to guide us through this conversation. Christophe Zoghbi, founder and CEO of Zaka, has been leading the charge in AI education and implementation, helping businesses turn cutting-edge AI into real-world solutions. And Ashwin Joshi, director at startAD, has worked with countless startups, helping them navigate the tricky but rewarding path of innovation, investment, and growth. So this isn't about talk, Grandma. This is about action. In that spirit, I will stop talking and welcome Christophe Zoghbi and Ashwin Joshi on stage.
Good morning to everyone, and welcome to this Fireside Chat, Generative AI Beyond Buzzwords. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Christophe Zoghbi, the founder of Zaka AI, an AI-focused consulting and training company with a mission to democratize AI in the Middle East and beyond. Chris has been deeply embedded in the AI ecosystem in the region for several years, from the very early days as an AI engineer, also almost back 10 years back. He has been seeing a gap in the adoption of AI in the local ecosystem, and then that led him to start a very grassroots AI community called Beirut AI in Lebanon, a nonprofit organization which became one of the largest AI communities. Chris is also a partner to Logic X, IT consulting practice, and of course, being the CEO of Zaka AI. Chris, welcome to Slush, and it's our incredible pleasure to welcome you here. Before I hand it off to you to talk about your experiences, one thing for the audiences is this is a very application or a very practical focused session. So we'd encourage all of you to ask questions. So typical format, as we've got 22 minutes, I can ask you the barrage of questions. However, if all of you have some questions that you can pose to Chris, we'd welcome that. Do we have some volunteers in the room who can hand over mics? We can get started with probably the first question, and then if you can circulate the mic with the audience, let's keep it interactive so that we answer some of the most pressing questions that you may have. So, Chris, again, welcome. To kick things off, we'd love to hear from you from a very first person's view of how has it been as a life as an AI entrepreneur for you. You've, of course, you are a proudly bootstrap founder. So Chris has not taken a dime of funding for his company, and he wants the journey to be a bootstrap one. So help us understand from your view, what were some of the challenges, some of the decisions that you faced as you built your company, and why staying bootstrapped is so important for you?
Thank you, Ashwin, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. So I'd like to quickly walk you again through the journey of how Zaka came to be, because it's all kind of related. My background is in software engineering. I graduated in 2012. I worked for a couple of years, and then I started my entrepreneurship journey, and I was building a product that led me down the rabbit hole of machine learning and AI back in the days where there weren't really a lot of resources online to help you get started. So it was a bit difficult for me to learn about everything to do with machine learning and these algorithms, but it took me a long time, and finally I made it through. The startup did not succeed, obviously, but I came out of it with a big passion for AI. So I'm Lebanese, and I was based in Lebanon back then, and no one was speaking anything about AI. It was a new field. No one was building anything with AI, so I decided to build a meetup, a community called Beirut AI, to promote the awareness around artificial intelligence. And it quickly became the biggest applied AI community in the region, or at least in Lebanon. We were organizing meetups, we were building, doing workshops, hackathons, etc. And I quickly realized that AI is a very interesting topic for a lot of people, but unfortunately, when it comes to applying AI, no one had any idea how to do that. Like companies, everyone wanted AI, but no one wanted to go through the data and the algorithms and all of that. So I realized that there is a big mission behind the educating people, right? Giving them practical knowledge and what is AI actually, right? Everyone thinks that AI is, robotics or Terminator back then. Now they call it ChatGPT, but it's actually much more than that. So this is why I decided to take my passion, which I was, doing as a volunteer, and make it my full-time job in Zaka. So I founded Zaka as a consulting company that's really pushing practical AI adoption in the region, and we do so through upskilling programs, education programs to help companies and individuals understand and apply AI. And so to go back to your question, I've always thought that the way startups approach the whole startup game is not always ideal. Like every entrepreneur I meet who has a new idea, first thing they think about is I need to raise money, right? It's not always the case. Like in most cases, you don't need to raise money if you can just bootstrap your way. And it's really good because not only do you get to, control or keep, your ownership and equity in the company, but also it helps you become a better entrepreneur, in my opinion, because if you're spending someone else's money, it's easy to spend. If you have a lot of funding, it's easy to do mistakes and spend money here and there without actually understanding what's happening. But if you're really thinking about every single dollar you spend, because that's a limited amount you have, and you need to kind of, make more money to spend money, then you're gonna be more careful about making mistakes. You're gonna be more making calculated moves, and you end up being a better entrepreneur. Of course, the growth might be slower, but who said it has to be growth? Like I'm against this growth mindset. It's not about being a unicorn, right? There's the new idea of a camel. You need to be able to sustain. Like it's all a survival game, and to survive, you have to make the right decisions. So even if you're moving slower, at the end of the day, if you survived, and it's gonna be successful. So what I tell every individual, every entrepreneur I meet is, if you really need the money, because some cases you do need to raise funds, right? But in most cases, if you're doing a software product, if you're working in AI, or where all you need is just a laptop, an internet connection, and you can build your product, especially now with the age of AI, which I guess we're going to talk about it more, like you're so much capable of building a lot of things without needing to, scale and raise funds and etc. And then after you launch your, prototype or your first product, you might be able to raise to scale, but at least you've validated something without going through all this mess.
Well, thanks, Chris, and permission to go off script. Yeah. So I think one of our I've been in incubation entrepreneurship for more than a decade, and one of the things that we've seen entrepreneurs do is, let's say, if you claw back 10 decades, the most informed technology was the platform business model, right? And what the entrepreneurs who were bootstrapping had for them is the technology didn't change a whole lot. So even if I were a bootstrapped entrepreneur, it would take me 3 years to build my company, get customer validation. The underlying technology was pretty much similar. In AI, I was speaking to an entrepreneur a few days back. That individual, sort of as a company, they started building, they didn't go into the AI apps, they started building their own infra stack, which is the LLM. And at that point, LLM was the infrastructure that investors were pouring money in. Of course, he had his own money. What happened a few years down the line is the LLMs became commoditized. And now with the technology changing so fast, going from apps to LLM infrastructure, we just don't know what's going to happen. How do you expect entrepreneurs to start the journey, spend all of their money, time validating what customers are when that core technology is changing so rapidly? Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you remember, like Her Excellency was just saying a few minutes ago, start with the problem, right? Solve a problem. This is how you should launch startups. Don't follow the technology, right? Don't follow what is the currently hyped up thing that investors are pouring money into, and then go into that. Because sure, you might succeed in getting some investments and raising money and doing all of this, show off. A few years later, your startup is gonna go down to zero, right? If you're not solving a real problem, then what are you doing? Startups are all about solving problems. So again, start by identifying one thing that you need to solve, and then figure out how to get there by leveraging technology. So technology is a way for you to solve a problem, not a way for you to raise money and say I have a company and play this startup game, which most people unfortunately are doing.
Okay. We'll take a quick pause and see if anybody from the audience has any specific questions. I've got a few more questions that I can go on, but just we'd love to see if you guys have specific asks from Chris.
Hi, my name is Tatiana. I work as a technical lead in Eva.ai. My question, what are the source-related AI agents? Are you going to use them in your startup, for example, like Hi AI full stack developer? And what is your thoughts regarding one-person business who can be unicorn by using AI agents?
Absolutely, that's a great question. AI agents are currently the hot thing in AI, right? This is the year of the agents. But if it's just a new way of calling the same thing all over again, right? AI agents are just, some form of automation coupled with LLMs or, some AI capabilities, but it's nothing fancy, right? It's just how can I leverage the latest in AI to automate and to improve and to work on that. So let's take a step back and talk a bit about, in general, what's happening in the AI field, right? Before ChatGPT, we had AI, which meant basically machine learning algorithms, deep learning algorithms, getting data sets, and then, trying to build a predictive model based on that data. So AI was kind of a decision-making step. But then generative AI allowed us to create, right? We had an AI that is generative, that can create or generate content and all sorts of content, whether it's text or videos or images or videos or music, etc. So this has really allowed two things. First of all, it really made AI more mainstream. Like I've seen it because I've been in the field for a long time. Prior to ChatGPT, most people did not really care about AI, right? They didn't care to learn or to adopt it internally because for them, AI was a technical topic that only IT or technical people had to work with. After ChatGPT, all of them are like, okay, I have this FOMO, right? They're missing out on this hype and they want to learn AI, they want to adopt AI. And they are now coming to us to say, tell me how to work with AI, tell me how to adopt AI. So that's the first thing that generative AI really made an impact. And second, and to your point, it really lowered the barrier to creating a lot of things. So 10 years ago, if I was to launch a startup, I needed to get someone to help me with the branding, with the graphic design, with the marketing stuff, with the content writing. A lot of the things that me, let's say, as an engineer, I'm good at writing code, I'm bad at doing everything else. Now I have AI models for that. I have agents or tools or whatever you call them that can really help me create a logo, create the basic branding, right? Do some content creation if you want to push this or do that. So it has lowered the barrier to entry in a way where you don't need a big team to do everything. You can, as a solopreneur, you can build your prototype in like 2 days, right? You can launch a startup in such a short time, which is good because your goal is to ideate or validate your idea really fast, right? You have to get to market as soon as you can with the minimal viable product to see if it actually makes sense or not. Am I solving a problem? Is there demand on this problem or not? So AI is just like eliminating or reducing the time required to go to market and the resources required, which means you can iterate or experiment faster and more. And ideally, this would lead to more successful startups in a shorter amount of time. So yeah, my advice to everyone as an entrepreneur is leverage these tools to go faster, to iterate, to ideate, and launch quicker.
Well, this is very interesting that you bring that up. Last week we had a conference on blockchain, and one of the founders, again a serial entrepreneur, as a company, they have created a manifesto that we will not let our company go beyond 10 people, because that forces your company to automate, pick tools which can automate your workflows, and therefore you don't really have to. You can do so much more with a smaller team now compared to what we were earlier. So I think the other question is, again, from your experience, back in the days when we had coding, we had developers, we had teams, the time to ship out a product was 90 days. That if you can ship out a product in 90 days to your customer, then you are looking at MVP the right way. What has that 90 days become now in this world? Is it 10 days?
I mean, in some cases, it's maybe one day, right? Like it depends on how simple your product is and how hard the problem you're solving is. But yeah, you can do a lot in one day because you're not alone, right? You're leveraging AI models, AI tools, right? And AI is never tired. It's always working. It's much faster than humans. So you can definitely leverage that to move fast.
No, but very realistically, what have you seen teams do? I mean, how quickly have they shipped out a product?
Like, okay, to give you a real example, I was looking at X or Twitter the other day. I saw a CEO of a big tech company. He was mentioning like how they used to use Figma to create prototypes of their products and then send it to development to kind of build a prototype. And now they skipped completely that and they just go to Replit and they tell Replit they have this AI model that you can prompt him to create a certain app, right? So instead of going through the design process of building the prototype on Figma and then building that, they just go to Replit and they tell the agent or the model, I don't know, I want to build XYZ. They describe everything, and then in a couple of hours, you'll have your first prototype up and running. And just to be clear, we're not talking about fully working, big platforms that are, we're not there yet, right? AI is not automating or replacing completely software engineers. But if you just need something quick to launch and, get paid, like validate the idea that if it works or not, it's more than enough to do it with AI at this stage.
So before we open out to another audience question, I just wanted to go back to the theme of this chat of looking beyond the hype, looking at what's real. So obviously, I think ChatGPT is a great example. Last 18 months, many of us who were not on the AI bandwagon are gung-ho about it. If we peel the layers back and look through the hype, what is real? What is going to create real value? Is generative AI that particular technology that is really going to drive the AI transformation ahead, or is it something else? How do we make sense in this noisy environment?
Yeah, it's a very important question, because in the AI hype, and I've seen it, again, over the last 10 years, it's always hyped up. It's always hyped up. And I see it, for example, when I go to companies and they say, I want to implement AI, and they think that it's just this, plug and play. You buy something, you install it, and now you have AI. And it's not that. AI is not, or for example, they have a problem and they're like, yeah, just use AI to solve the problem. So again, AI it's not what we see in the movies as if this self, its own agent that's making up decisions and it's much smarter than us and it can do everything better than us. We're not there yet, and we might not even get there, and that's a different debate. Right now, AI is a tool, right? It's software, it's algorithms, it takes data, it learns from data. It's just a better way for us to write code or software, right? So there's a lot of hype. What's important is to look behind the hype and understand what's actually happening. So in generative AI, it's easier because we can immediately see the output. You can immediately feel that I ask it to do this, it writes this email, or it writes this content, or it gives me this image or this video, so I can get more value from it directly. But also, if you talk about the traditional AI, the algorithms, it's very important to have this data strategy that allows me to leverage the data that I have, right? Every company has data one way or another. And if they don't have a data strategy and a way to make sense of this data and get more value, then they're losing a lot, right? They're falling behind. So there is definitely value in AI, but also you should know that it's an investment in terms of time and money and resources, and collecting the data. It doesn't happen overnight. It's something that you have to put in the effort. But if you do so, eventually you're going to have a better product, because you are relying on data to make decisions. You are relying on data to have a better value for your customers. So there's a lot of benefit for it, but it's a long-term benefit.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? We've got two here. Sorry, there's one. One? Okay. So we have some about 6 to 7 minutes, so we can have at least all of these questions come. Go for it.
All right. Thank you, Chris and Ashwin, for a very interesting conversation. Chris, you mentioned that you work with companies on supporting them with rolling out AI tools. And maybe this question can serve as a tip for the students who are building, or for the wider ecosystem to understand what our peers are doing. But if you can shed some light on what are use cases that you're seeing where organizations are using AI tools to help them with their organization? Is it mainly operations? What are specific use cases where AI is actually making a difference? Yeah, that's the question. If you can shed some light on use cases, thank you.
Sure. So usually companies, as I said, they reach out and they're like, we want to implement AI. And the first thing I tell them is, okay, do you know what AI is? And most cases, they have no idea. So we always start with like a small session about explaining what AI actually is, like behind the hype, right? It's not this, it's not that, it's actually this and this and this. Once you do that, they know how to deal with the technology, right? Then after that, we usually go into ChatGPT, because for me, ChatGPT or similar LLMs, not just ChatGPT, that's a very versatile tool that can benefit marketing team, finance team, HR, operations, you name it. So we go into about explaining. Everyone has used ChatGPT and similar LLMs, but most of people don't know how it works, right? And that's why you end up with hallucinations and copy pasted content online, because every single LinkedIn post is now generated by ChatGPT, because no one knows how to customize that output, right? So we go about explaining how it works and then how to best work with it or get the best outcome, which is called prompt engineering. So we explain all of these things and then we go into use cases based on who's the audience. If we're talking with a marketing team, we explain examples of how the marketing team can leverage LLMs. If you're talking about finance, we give them some examples on that. And for me, this is at least it's like a one-day training that's enough for them to get the basic minimum hands-on practical experience to actually use AI internally. And then from here onwards, we can go as deep as you'd like. But this is at least enough for them to feel like I'm using AI in my job. I'm being more efficient. I'm being more productive.
Thank you. Question there?
Yeah.
Hi, so do you have any advice for aspiring founders in AI in education? And have you been seeing solutions for where you use AI for education for learning?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of examples for AI in education, from personalized learning, having this personal tutor that's going to help students, learn better and much efficiently, because each student has his own style of learning and might have different questions. So I believe AI is going to be like a personal tutor for every student, which is going to improve a lot the quality and the grades and the average rate of every student. My advice, not just in education, but to every entrepreneur, and that's something I share with everyone, is that don't over plan and put this 10-year plan or whatever and think and strategize. It's much more like it's better to just take action, right? Jump in, and then after you take your action, you're gonna see how, like, reassess and then move from there, right? Overthinking and over planning will not get you anywhere. Taking the action and being on the ground and learning, taking this feedback and improving, and it's the whole process of iteratively doing the same thing all over again. But it all starts with taking action. And I've seen it with a lot of people. They have amazing ideas, but they're stuck at, I don't feel like it's enough. I don't feel it's ready. It's not a 5-year plan that's fully, you don't know what's going to happen in 2 years, right? Why even have this 5-year plan? So that might be not what other people say, but my personal experience has been to just, if you're solving a problem, if you're sure there's a problem, don't overthink it. Just do something, right? Take the first step, and eventually it's going to appear. The road will make sense, and you're going to figure out which way to go. So that would be my advice for all entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
I think one last question back there. Or you have? Okay.
Yeah, so I think lovely conversation. Just one question. I think you've already alluded to this. I see a lot of founders having a solution and then fishing for the pain point, right? Versus both of you have been in the startup journey, both of you have helped ventures scale. So for people, say, who are domain experts and not tech experts, being pain point first, how would you recommend that they go about prioritizing these pain points, right? And there are people who take a personal pain point and build a venture around it. And there are people who prioritize it, be very outside it, and then prioritize it. So what's your experience been in, like, guiding these founders in prioritizing a pain point around which they can venture out? Of course, they'll pivot, but what's the first point?
Again, I just said it. Use AI tools to automate things and to prototype faster, right? And this is better when you're a domain expert. You know the problems of that domain versus if you're a AI expert, but you have no idea in specific domains. AI knowledge by itself is useless, right? Unless you apply it to a specific domain, which is why domain experts, if they know a bit of AI, they're unstoppable. So yeah, if you're a domain expert who identified the problem in that domain, you can immediately leverage these AI tools to get something out there. And of course, have someone with AI knowledge to help you build what you're doing, and you're gonna be successful.
My response to your question would be, again, sounds cliched, but essentially there was a time where we professed a lot saying that follow your passions. Then I think there was a time where the market opportunity became very strong. What I've learned over the last 10 years is the best way to do it is really do what you like, because you end up creating markets when you follow what really moves you. The pure and simple reason is markets are created through partnerships. You will engage with people on topics that are near and dear to you. Technology, people, opportunities are means for you to achieve what you want to do. So in some ways, it is a commercial venture, but it is also a personal expression. So it's very subjective in that sense. But each person has to go through that journey to come to that nirvana. Yeah. We are out of time. Do we have time for one more question? I think there was one back there, or are we just over the schedule? Guys? All right. Yeah. One? No? Okay. Thank you so much, Chris. This has been such an amazing conversation. And guys, thank you so much for your questions. We are out here all day. I think you can feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to speak to you about how you can start your venture. And Chris, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for having
I would have wanted 15 more minutes.
me too. But it's okay. Next time.